see if we can do better than
let's
local news 8.
News.
Are we live? We're cranking. Right on. What's up, Landon?
What's up? Welcome to YouTube Live, right?
Welcome to YouTube Live.
All right.
Yeah. So we did this last month.
Yeah.
We went through, did a market update, talked a little bit about, our local Southeast Idaho market.
Yep.
And we thought, instead of doing that, let's go live. Let's just, instead of cranking them all out, let's just go through them all at the same time live and
see if we can keep people engaged for a decent amount of time.
I don't think it's going to happen. But we'll go through. So I did have a couple people ask me, who the heck is Landon Kesler? And, you and I run in similar circles, but not all the same. So introduce people to
me. It's a valid question. Who is this guy that just all of a sudden showed up with Kris on these videos? Well, first of all, I'm in the mortgage industry. I have a company called Idaho First Mortgage. I've been doing this for dang near 20 years now. Seen a lot, ups and downs. Have a lot of experience. So I think that's helpful in an industry where it's nice to be aligned with someone that's got some experience. But
gives you some credibility talking about the things that we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a competitive advantage for me maybe, but that's not really who I am. I'm a husband and father first. I've got 10 kids and an amazing wife, and that's my why. That's what I do it all for. But I am pretty passionate about the mortgage industry.
If you just thought you misheard, you did not mishear. 10 kids. What are the age ranges?
So the oldest is 22, the youngest is 6.
Oh my gosh.
So we got pretty much every age grade covered.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to validate he's a husband and father first. We actually had scheduled to do this 2 weeks ago.
My bad on that one.
Right?
Yeah.
It fell on some holiday. I can't remember exactly. Kids were out of school.
It was one of those holidays that sneak up on you because it's a Monday that all the kids are out of school and the banks really shouldn't be open, but I don't really pay that close of attention to it because we're always working. And the kids are like, we're home Monday, Dad. Like, can we go golf? Can we do this? And I'm like, yeah, let me get a hold of Kris and take the kids golfing.
He texts me and he's like, dude, I'm playing with the kids today. I'm like, right on. That's totally cool. So, and, I can totally vouch for Landon and his team. You got a team as well. So you got the family and then you got a team of people there with you at Idaho First.
Yeah, we do. You got to have a team in this business. It gets busy and you got to have a lot of help and you want people that are competent helping you so you can still have a life. And that's really what we've tried to build at Idaho First Mortgage is very competent people that know what they're doing and then can help our clients get to the start to the finish line in as smooth as a process as possible. And they do a phenomenal job at that. So make my job a lot easier for sure.
Yeah, they are a great team, so I can vouch for them. I'm Kris Bertagnolli. I've known Landon for quite a few years now. We've done business together. We built some businesses together. I own Legacy Ranch Properties as well as Anchor Studios. That's the studio we're in today. So
this studio is phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, it's top notch. And you can't see the guys behind the scenes, but he's got stuff going here.
Yeah, you want to talk about a team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We wouldn't be going live if we didn't have a team.
Right. We're not clicking buttons to go live or anything. There's someone handling all of that.
Casey, Corey, Tyler, they're all back there.
Awesome.
So, anyway, but I've been selling real estate for 8 years now, since 2018, and almost 9. Yeah, it's crazy. And I love luxury real estate. I love cabins. I love Island Park, Teton Valley.
Yeah.
I love our local market, luxury. So I sell a lot of farm and ranch, land, and I don't know, this stuff I love real estate in general.
Yeah.
So talking about the numbers today, we got to give a shout out to AreaPro. Those guys, they do a fantastic job. If you're not using AreaPro and you're a realtor or you're in the lending industry, you need to grab onto that. Those guys do a fantastic job of updating data. Everything you see today, well, most of what you see today will be right off of their software that basically taps into the back of your MLS and helps you pull data and helps you know the economics of your local market. I don't think, Landon, I always tease, I know some older realtors in the market that when they started selling real estate, they would have to drive by the MLS office and pick up a catalog. You know, the internet wasn't a thing, and so it was like, hey, what are the new listings this month? And it was the Sears and Roebuck catalog of MLS listings.
And how would they get historic information?
I don't know.
Same thing? I mean,
pick up historic catalog, I guess, you know. Go into NASA. I don't know.
How good do we have it in our industry today to have all these tools, AI included, that just at a click of a button and maybe a subscription, you've got access to so much data to help your clients. It's
Exactly.
incredible.
And not only does it do that, but it helps you. I think, you know, that was the age of referrals.
Yeah.
You know, that's if you were an Idaho Falls realtor, you really only focused on Idaho Falls, and you had somebody moving to Island Park, you would refer it because there's no way for you to even know that market.
Right.
And so now, and you're going to see in a matter of 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're going to be able to be updated on, we're going to go through every county in Southeast Idaho. So should we start?
Let's go. Let's get into it.
Let's do this. So first and foremost, last time we were talking, Landon gave us an update about mortgage rates. So give us an update as well, you know, where we're at compared to that time and what's going on.
Yeah, the timing is interesting because we did this right after a Federal Reserve meeting. We've got this open market committee, Federal Reserve governors that meet every 6 weeks. We just had another one of those last week. And just like the previous meeting, the Federal Reserve cut rates 25 basis points. The market was expecting that. Everyone was anticipating these rate cuts. We've seen really nice improvement in interest rates heading up to these meetings. And just like last time, believe it or not, they cut rates 25 basis points. And as a result, interest rates went higher. That afternoon, we had repricing for the worst. So a lot of people, I mean, I get flooded with calls and text messages every time the Feds meet and every time they cut rates. And the main question is, hey, I just heard the Feds cut rates. What is my rate now? Or what are rates looking like now? And it's just discouraging that I have to respond and say, yeah, that's not really how it works. Just because the Feds cut rates doesn't mean our mortgage rates are lower. The market was already anticipating that. So we'd already seen improvement. What happened is they did what the market was expecting, so then you don't see in mortgage rates. But then our Fed Chair Jerome Powell gets to do a press conference after every meeting, after the interest rate decision and policy statement, and he gets to start talking. And he said something very specific in this press conference, which is not very typical of him. He likes to be very vague, so he's not giving the markets anything to sink their teeth into. But this time he says, hey, we had a meeting, and people's opinions of where we should go with rates after this are all over the place. We're not on the same page. And a cut in December's meeting is not a foregone conclusion. He said those specific words, and as a result, the market said, hey, we might not have a rate cut in December like we thought.
Everybody's confused.
Everyone's, and what's really confusing is we had a government shutdown.
Yeah.
Have you seen an impact in our real estate market? It's going on 35 days. I think I saw today, the longest in history. Is the government shutdown having an impact on things in our local market?
Locally, I don't think we've seen much of an impact. I think things were trending in a similar direction, but I do think that nationally you're starting to see some headlines where there's places that are being affected and people are starting to have to make some adjustments, especially workers. And so, I mean, the fact that I say that and I'm not seeing it in the numbers yet, we generally see like a 60 to 90-day lag. And one of our main employers in the area is the site, the Idaho National Lab. And so we have to be feeling an effect from that.
Well, I've been talking to several people who are employed out there, asking, what are you seeing? Are you furloughed? Are you missing paychecks yet? A lot of them are contract employers that are contracted with the federal government, right? Patel, Floor was one of them. I can't remember all the names of the different employers out there, but there's a lot of contract, and apparently their funding is good through, they call it curtailment, into the holiday season. So they're not seeing an impact on their pay. I think there has been some furloughing, some laying off, I'm sure. But if this goes on any longer, then maybe even the end of the year, we could probably see an impact. And it's going to impact home buyers that are employed out there. They're trying to get into this market. Do I buy now? Probably not. They're probably going to put the skids on, waiting to see what happens with their employment, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those people are going to be, if they don't renew certain contracts out there, now we're unemployed. Now
we're losing.
Yeah, we're in a different situation.
We're going to lose people who then may have moved here for those jobs and then now are moving away.
Yeah, there was some positive news I saw today that they're hoping to, by the end of the week, get going again. So, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I think they were voting maybe today.
Yeah, it's supposed to be today.
Yeah, so we'll see if they can come together or not. But the reason I bring up the government shutdown is because we have not been receiving economic data during the shutdown. So we're talking inflation reports, employment reports, and those are usually the data points that influence the market because those are the data points that influence the Fed's decision making.
Right.
They don't have any of that data. As soon as the government opens up again and we start getting floods of that information, then that's going to feed into what does the market think the Feds are going to do next time they meet
in December.
Yeah. So we're kind of in a, we're seeing rates get a little bit worse over these last few trading sessions. I think it is going to be really, really slow, not very volatile until some of those data points start coming out, and then we're going to start seeing some crazy stuff one way or another.
Dude, it is so confusing for people. And that's, one of the things I want to reiterate that you mentioned last time, if you're calling Landon when the Fed is cutting the rates, you're late.
Yeah, we're too late.
Yeah, you got to be in front of this. You got to have a plan. If you're even thinking about buying or selling, you need to be ahead of it.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because I try to advise the best I can, but ultimately a borrower or a buyer is going to make their own decisions. And when they're reading headlines and are reading the news, they're telling me, hey, I'm going to wait to lock my rate until after the Fed meeting because I think they're cutting rates. My advice to them would be, we should probably be locking ahead of the meeting because if they do what the market's expecting, we're not going to see an improvement. There's just one way this can go after this, and that's probably in the other direction.
The last two times we've seen it go up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, awesome. So, yeah, we'll just, I guess, to be continued. We'll wait and see. Hopefully government can get back to work, and then we can get some of those reports back and get a little more clarity.
Yeah, and then we'll get some more clarity on where rates will be heading into 2026 next year.
So let's talk real quick. We're going to go into each county and talk about their numbers. But one of the things Landon brought up to me that I want to talk about before we get into these numbers, because I think buying power is a big deal.
Yeah.
And these markets right now, you're starting to see some buyer markets, especially in certain price ranges. So before we jump into that, let's talk about buying power.
Yeah.
What's happened for a buyer over the last year?
Yeah. Well, we just talking about it a little bit before we went live, interest rates in 2025 have improved quite a bit from where they began in January. It always ebbs and flows, a little bit of a roller coaster, but the trend has been down. And we just wanted to do an example on here of what's the impact to our buying power when interest rates on average go from a rate of, say, 6.75 down to where they're hovering right now, which is around 6%. So that's a 0.75% rate improvement in over the year's time frame.
So just we put this into a calculator on Mortgage News Daily, and if we're looking, and this is about a year ago, 6.75 was pretty common for rates.
Yeah, pretty common. Higher sixes, it would get into the sevens occasionally and then come back, thank goodness. But yeah, I would say high sixes was a pretty good average.
So just in general, we're using the calculator here. If you're looking at a house that was at $450,000 a year ago, and your rate was 6.75%, you would have had a payment about $2,920. So now with rates at
let's throw in 6%.
Okay. So 6%, same value, $450. It drops the payment down to $2,698.
Yeah. What is that? $220.
$220. So now that same buyer that was looking to have that payment and was looking at a $450,000 house, let's put $500 in here and see what that does. So $500. So there you go.
So we just went from buying power of $450. If you wanted your payment right around $2,900 to $3,000 a month, your average income on that scenario would be maybe $8,000 to $9,000 a month income. You could qualify pretty easily for that. Your buying power just went up by $50,000 this year.
It's huge.
Did home values necessarily go up by 50 grand?
No.
No. So yeah, that's the power and impact that interest rates coming down is having and will continue to have as they creep down.
Okay. Well, let's jump into some markets. Let's start with Bonneville County. And again, you're going to see some screen share here. We're going to give a shout out to AreaPro. These guys, what they've built is pretty amazing. This is the dashboard for Bonneville County. Now, this is Bonneville County all in, which includes Swan Valley. And so as we go through this, I am going to go back and forth. I've got a report built within AreaPro that just takes in the 5 high schools that are in Idaho Falls. Swan Valley is kind of a market of its own.
Absolutely.
So in Bonneville County, though, in general, all in, we've got a 4-month supply of inventory. We've got 586 active properties. The average days on market for the active properties is 85 days. There's currently 85 pending, which is a 15% pending ratio. That's lower than we've seen it in a long time. We'll get into the markets within a market. Sold in the last 6 months, we've got 886. 62 days on market for the sold is the average number of days on market. And then we're selling about 148 per month in the last 6 months, which you see there's a big difference between those two numbers.
Big difference.
Right? And they're selling at about 98.5 of list price. Down here, the active properties, the average list price or the average price for one of them that's listed on the market active is $579,000. The average price for one that's pending is $441,000, and the average sold price, meaning that's closed, is $437,000. Similar to what we saw last month.
I was going to say, I don't remember all the details of what we looked at last time, but these numbers down at the bottom here look very similar to what they were. But the days on market, is that higher?
It is higher.
Were we in the 40s?
Yeah, watch this. Yeah. So let's go. That's a 6-month period. This is a tool that I love. We're going to change this to the 3-month period. So in 3 months, basically, it's similar here. Let me go back up here, and I'm going to switch it to the 5 high schools so we can see. Now, you can see what happens when I take Swan Valley out. Swan Valley is kind of a luxury market.
Okay.
So our average days on market is 63, and that changes it a little bit.
Yeah.
So 429, the average for the sold price in the 5 high schools.
Brought that down, yeah.
That did bring it down by about $8,000.
Yeah.
So, but here's the cool data in Bonneville County. Let's go to the grid view. You can see, and this is, it's reflective of that average purchase price, $430,000. So really, we've got some segments here under $500,000. The month's supply of inventory is 3.4 months. So it's still a seller's market when you look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Now, days on market for sold, 58. That's higher than we've seen, and that's why it feels...
Man. It feels like a buyer's
a long
market.
time. Yeah, it feels like a buyer's market.
Right?
You are seeing some concessions. The percent of list price here is reflective of that. So 98.6%. Now, this is kind of what we see when we start to see it move into a buyer's market. What market is affected first? Secondary home market.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Island Park, Swan Valley.
Yeah.
But then the higher price ranges, the luxury market is impacted. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. You get above 500 and you start to see these months supply of inventory creep, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that Landon and I talked last time about the cliff of affordability.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see that in the 5 high school area of Idaho Falls kick in between 800,000 and 900,000. Is that kind of what you're seeing with buyers?
Yeah, I could look at my pipeline at any given time, and you will see pretty much every purchase transaction is in that 3 to 450 price range. It really is, and you might get a onesie twosie that jumps over that cliff and is in the higher price range, and it's very rare. But
well, if you look at this number overall in the entire market on the dashboard here, if we go back to the dashboard, look at the overview, we're selling 144 in the entire market per month. We now go to the grid view and you say per month, 107 of those are happening below 500,000.
Yeah, wow.
So, it leaves what is that, 30, 35?
Yeah.
To above 500. And you see that 35 of those are under $1 million, and then above $1 million in that 5 high school area is 2.2 per month. So that is the market. We have a 17.5 month supply of inventory above 1.25 million. 20 active properties and 14 active, and we're selling less than one a month.
And that's got to be tough for the sellers that are trying to move those properties, just knowing there's just not a lot of buyers that are going to be able to. It's going to take the right person to come along to fall in love with that specific property and house.
And we do have buyers floating in, but they're even tentative.
Yeah.
I've had a couple properties in that price range, and I'm about to list another one, and they're very tentative right now on where they want to put their money and how they want to spend that, and they're wondering, am I going to be buying at a high time? Am I going to be paying too much for this thing?
Yeah.
So,
well, I've talked to a few that are trying to sell in that price range too, that are having to do major price. We're not talking $20,000-$30,000 price cuts. We're talking potentially $200,000 to $300,000 price cuts, and it's probably not indicative of what that home is really worth. It's probably valued where it should be for the market, but to actually get an incentivized buyer to take that property, it has to get the price rent down a little bit.
And the fact of the matter is, it's buying power.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if and the last couple I've sold 2 in Island Park in just the last couple of months, both were cash, and they both actually were income generating properties. And so they were treating them more like a business. But if somebody's going to come into this market, they're not an individual that needs a loan and can afford, is looking to afford a payment. And so
but they're also, and if they're savvy, which they usually are, very financially savvy, and they're looking at these statistics, they know they have a lot of leverage.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, they have lots of leverage. It's fortunate for them, unfortunate for a seller. And then you just probably have, you probably experienced those negotiating.
Yeah, you get a little offer. There's some offense taken.
Sure. But if it's been on the market for that long, you have to take those low offers seriously and say, can we get them up to a number that makes sense for both parties?
That's why I always try to encourage them, is don't be the one to walk away from the table. Right? At least throw whatever your counter would be back over the fence.
Don't get offended to the point where you're not willing to, that you can't do a counter offer.
Totally. So that's the 5 high schools in Bonneville County right now. Let's jump into, where do you want to go next? You want to go to your hometown?
Let's go to hometown
Bingham.
Let's go.
Bingham County, baby.
BHS, class of 96.
Home of the Broncos. Home of the... Hey, shout out to Shelly. Shelly was second in state in volleyball.
Yeah.
So the Russets went out there. Hillcrest won it.
I was going to ask who won state in the 5A.
I was withholding a little bit.
No, congratulations to East Idaho. That's what I say. That's impressive to go over to. I love it when we go to state and East Idaho is represented so well.
Well represented.
Like they were in the 5A volleyball state tournament. I'm sure they were represented amazingly in the 6A classification.
Yeah, Madison
made it to the state title game,
they were
right?
second. Dude, Skyview was they were a powerhouse.
They're just
Rigby made it. We didn't do as well as we wanted, but
okay.
It was all right. So
fun times though.
But it was fun to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Bingham County, this has grown a little bit since the last time we talked. The 6-month view of the month supply of inventory is 5.6 months. Over the last 3 months, 5.7. It's growing. You're seeing a little more time on market. Let's look at what inventory has done. 223 sold. So, it's fairly consistent. We have 210 actives. The number of days on market is a little higher than Bonneville County, 90 days for the active properties, 24 currently pending with an 11% pending ratio. This pending ratio is where, we're seeing that dropping, big time. 110 sold in the last 3 months. 79 days on market is the average days on market. 37 per month at a 98.2% of list price. That's dropping.
Yep.
That means more negotiation,
we were
saying.
in the 99s, I feel like.
We were.
Last time.
Yep. We were. So the active properties, we're seeing 509 as the average, pending 410. That's a 100K difference. Yeah. So it's just reflective of those higher price ranges are sticking around a lot longer. They're offsetting that a little bit. The original list price on the sold properties, and this is reflective of the concessions, $422,000. Final list price $413. You're seeing a price drop there of about 5%, 4 to 5, and then the average sold price in Bingham County right now $405K.
Yeah.
So that's dropped a little bit. Let's look at the grid view here. We'll look for that cliff that we talk about. So this one, and this is why I love AreaPro. They split these up depending on where the inventory is in the market. So in Bonneville County, we had a pretty a good number of properties that are under 500K. These guys split it up under 200K. You have 10 active properties. The average days on market is 150 days. 9 sold in the last 3 months, and 3 sold per month. That's more indicative of there's just nothing there.
I was going to ask, why 150 days for that price range? What are these properties that are in that price range? And
this is what I'd want to dig into. Like you're seeing $25,000 to $50,000 property. There's one of those active. It's been on the market for 57 days. There's 4 that are 50 to 75K that have been on the market for 143 days.
These aren't lots, are they?
No, land comes out of those.
I was going to say, land's not included in this.
No, so they could be some manufactured.
Okay.
They could be some
like mobile homes would be included. Okay.
Yep. So anything that but yeah, that offsets those numbers a little bit. We go to under 500K and above 200. There's 119 of those properties. This is where the meat of the market is. So, and 600 plus is where that cliff of affordability starts kicking in Bingham County.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing above $1 million. Anything stand out to you there?
No, I have a couple of transactions happening in Bingham County. It's just right in that sweet spot. I mean, so I'm not surprised.
No, and I have a property that's on the market right now at 519 in Bingham County. It's a new construction. We've shown it twice. It's been on the market now for 42 days, but it feels like it's been on for an eternity, right?
So are you saying that may need to drop below 5 to get?
We may need to do something there.
Yeah.
I've talked to the seller about it. He's willing to offer up maybe a buy down or some concessions. So. But when you look at this and you say, okay, we're really in this price range of 450 to 500 and then 5 to 600 because we're at 520, right?
Yep.
Average days on market for a sold property is 80. So you look at that and you say, okay, well, comparatively, are we just having to wait a little bit longer?
Yeah, we're just not there yet.
Yeah.
To have to get too desperate or
do
something too drastic because this is normal.
That's right. And we look at the feedback. Both of the showings went really well. The feedback on the last one was it's in the top 3.
Oh, okay.
And so when you're getting showings, you're getting feedback. Now if they went with another property, then I would be saying, okay, why?
Yeah.
What was the difference?
So how do you help a seller client who is antsy, who's impatient, who is frustrated? I mean, dude, this has got to be the number one tool to be able to help.
100%. Every seller appointment that I go into, I use this.
Yeah.
And it establishes the baseline, and then every week I send them these updated numbers.
You can remind them every week.
And
remember what we talked about.
Exactly.
80 days on market is the average. We're at 60.
Yep. And then when we do a seller update, every week or two, I wait until Tuesday because I want the data to come in from the weekend.
Yep.
And so Tuesday I'll run a seller update and say, hey, nothing sold in our price range over the weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then we don't need to make any adjustments.
Right.
It's just.
But if 3 or 4 sold over the weekend in your price range, like what's wrong with our property or listing or price?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If they went pending, then I actually will proactively reach out to those listing agents and say, hey, can you tell me a little bit about, the offer that you got?
Yeah.
Just do as much research as you possibly can to find out, did we even get a chance?
Yeah.
If 4 went in our price range, did they come and look at ours? And it's just being on top of it and making sure, and then passing that on.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do for a seller is be silent.
Be silent
as an
right.
agent. So, get AreaPro for that, if anything.
Yeah.
You know, keep your sellers abreast of what's going on. Okay, let's jump into that was Bingham. Let's go to Bannock really quick. Now, Bannock in here, it's going to be as close as we possibly can. These guys have done a great job. One of the things about the MLS in Bannock is they don't always report closed data. Some MLSs don't, some do. So
because it's a completely different MLS.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as an agent, if you want to operate in Bannock County, you have to get access or pay a different.
You do.
Pay an additional MLS type fee.
I call it the friendly fee. You don't have to pay the full fee, but you've got there's a partnering agreement that you can get involved with that MLS, and it gives me all the ability to do everything down there.
Otherwise, you're referring.
That's right.
To other agents in that market.
Refer to somebody that knows that market. So, but this is showing a 3.8. When you look at this, you look, okay, is there anything that is like a severe outlier? Not really. The 6-month period for Bannock County, 3.8 months supply of inventory. I always like to go to the 3-month and say, okay, which direction is it moving? In just a 3-month period, which way are we headed? And you're going to see in 3 months, when we move from a 6-month view down to a 3-month, we now have a 4.1 month supply of inventory, which means inventory is growing.
Yeah, growing, and it's staying on the market longer. Yeah.
Our average days on market for active properties is 93. There's 360 active, 73 pending. Their pending ratio there is strong.
It's higher
compared to the other 2 markets we've looked at. 264 sold in the last 3 months. The average days on market for sold, that's the lowest we've seen, is 58. 88 are being sold per month, and they're at a 98.6% of list price. Look at the average sold price, though. Average active, 462. Average sold, 381. And the final sold price, 366.
Quite a bit lower than even Bingham County.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is super interesting.
I hear a lot of agents and even builders talk about Pocatello as a very unique market. I've never tried to do a ton of business. I've done deals and business in Bannock County, but it's not a focus county or market of mine. So, I mean, do you?
I love Bannock County.
Do you have insight into why that would be? Why it would be so unique?
It's an interesting town. It's an interesting county, and we lived there when Heather and I first got married in 2003. We lived there for a couple of years. Her family lives there.
Okay.
Her dad ran the Polaris dealership, and so we got to know that area really well.
Yeah.
It's unique because to the south, you're landlocked. You get to the Gap, and you don't go any further, and then Ingham is there. To the north, you're landlocked by the reservation.
Yeah.
And so, there's some developing that's going out west. You're seeing a lot of new homes hit that area. And then you do have these there's almost mini markets within Pocatello. You got the Bench, you had the big fire up there a couple years ago, and you got Pocatello Creek. You've got some really pretty valleys that have some amazing homes. Then you got the university area where there's some investment property opportunity, and so it presents just a lot of variables, I think is what it is.
Okay.
You have manufactured homes, you have trailer parks, you have, and so it is a unique market. They don't lately. Inventory has been a challenge.
Well, that's what I'm wondering is why would a builder be so resistant to developing there? Or maybe it's just challenging to develop there, or to find good land, or because of the landlocked situation.
I think that's
affordable land that makes the numbers work.
That's 100% it.
Okay.
I do a lot of farm and ranch. I'm talking to 2 farmers right now about what their opportunity is with their land. One is a trust. It's the family, and they now have the land. I don't see those opportunities in Pocatello. They're kind of running out of those opportunities. That's why I just noticed on YouTube and I don't know all the details. But there's a documentary about that big tech development that was happening up on the hill north of the temple.
Yeah.
And it's the Harts and the Rupps that owned that ground, and just kind of it was a big debacle. that happened with that development and what was happening with it. But you've got some newer developments. Rockwell, I talked to Nate the other day. They're looking for ground down there.
Yeah,
They're always looking for ground.
Yeah.
And so I think you've got some different challenges, especially with it being landlocked.
Yeah.
Even Inkom, there's some land that's being developed in Inkom now.
Oh, really?
And so, yeah, you're starting
That's a beautiful
to see.
area.
Oh, it's amazing.
Inkom's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I was surprised when you talk landlocked and then you lack of inventory, but then the average sales price is lower than the other markets in our area. So that's interesting that wouldn't be flipped. You would think if lack of inventory, landlocked, home prices would be a little bit higher due to demand.
You would think
supply,
that. And I think part of the reason I'd be interested to see, let's do something real quick because AreaPro can do this. You got to remember this is Bannock County.
Right. That's
right.
True.
So
yeah.
it's an entire county. Let's look. I think I've got let's look at Chubbuck. So I've got just the city of Chubbuck, and there you go. You're going to see that bumps up more the average that we've seen.
Look at that pending rate.
Yeah, pending ratio of 40% just for the city of Chubbuck. That's for the last 6 months. Let's see what 3.4, same pending ratio, 99.3.
Wow, okay.
So that's
okay.
Right?
That's
helps.
exactly
Exactly what you were just saying is the inventory is lower. That month supply of inventory is pretty low, but now you're right in line with some of the other markets.
That's powerful. I mean, that's a powerful tool when working with clients to help them understand the markets within a market.
Absolutely.
Because if you look at the whole Bannock County, yeah.
And let's look at, we'll go back real quick. Let's see if I've got one built for Pocatello. I think I do. Go back. There's Blackfoot City, Ammon, Idaho Falls, Island, Pocatello. So let's see, just Pocatello City, same thing, 3.4. Pending ratio drop.
Wait, it's half.
40% in Chubbuck, 20%. 98.2% of list price, 245 active.
Look at that average sales price.
And I think this is indicative of in Chubbuck, you've got the University District in Pocatello.
Yeah.
You got some of those older homes, and Chubbuck is more. I would say it's a newer area.
Yeah.
So, anyway, any other observations?
No, that was
pretty awesome.
Very cool.
Shout out to AreaPro. You wouldn't have been able to do this years ago, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. All right, let's look at. Let's go to Fremont.
Let's do it.
Fremont County.
Park. We love Fremont County.
Yes, we do. It's you got some memories from this last summer. He's still recovering from knee surgery.
Yeah, we are still recovering. This is a long haul.
Brutal, man.
I mean, I love Island Park. I love Island Park Reservoir, but it did me dirty this summer.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it's all good. We'll get back on the skis again.
Well, if you want to sell the cabin, let me know.
Yeah.
If you hate it that bad, let me know. We'll take care of it. So this is, I've got 2 listings up there. One is actually pending. I was telling you about that one.
Yeah.
I sold one recently. If you have a property up there that's generating rental income and you're at a 5 to 7 cap, you can sell still.
You can sell it.
Yeah. There's people looking, especially right now. You're getting close to the end of the year. People are starting to see where their tax might be coming in.
Is there a better investment for that purpose, to generate an income-producing property that generating cash flow that also has the tax advantages that come with it?
You know what? I think 100%. There's probably better. I think it's like you say. It's very individual.
Yeah.
It depends on the person, and most of the investors that I talk to that are buying up there, they want a place in Island Park.
Yeah.
They just want to have that presence.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I've got one cabin that it is in Lakeview Estates, and I love Lakeview Estates. I don't know if you know where that is. It's on the backside of Henry's Fork.
Okay.
It's a little community. If you've ever seen the movie The Burbs.
Oh yeah.
With Tom Hanks. Dude, they do not allow short-term rentals in there.
Okay.
And
I think
so
I've heard of this one,
what you have in there is just a bunch of people that live there during the summer. They know everybody.
Yeah.
They protect everybody.
They're watching.
They are.
Yeah.
And I mean, when we went to pound the sign in up there, I met every neighbor and super friendly, super cordial, but they don't allow short-term rentals. And so There's 2 cabins that are up in that area that have sat all summer long. We've showed them a couple times, but there's just not a lot moving, and that's what you're seeing right here. Is the second home market is stagnated. Yeah. And I wish I could actually pull. I created a report like 2 years ago that was all of the subdivisions in Island Park that allowed short-term rentals versus all that don't. The average price per square foot was almost $100 difference.
Oh, wow.
It was insane. So,
well, it's a problem, and it's also a blessing. So if you're a property owner up there that they allow for short-term rentals, then it's just a way to help supplement that expense. I mean, second homes are not cheap, especially if you have a mortgage on them. Those mortgages aren't cheap. So to get some help, but it's also a problem because you're bringing more activity. So we own property on Bill's Island. So they've actually had to charge an extra fee for the homeowners who want to rent their properties because of the impact. They call it an impact fee. The gates being opened and closed more often. There's more traffic on the roadways. They're having to do more grading of that road. And because if you own a property as a second home, you're visiting it maybe 2 to 3 weeks a year.
That's right.
Then you're renting it as a short-term rental. Now you have people coming there 200, 250 days a year.
Yeah.
Right? So there is truly an impact to these HOAs, these subdivisions. And so I understand why they don't want to allow it, but it's also very helpful. And we can speak a little bit on the second home interest rates, mortgage market, because this
where are they?
Well, this changed a couple of years ago. You used to be able to buy a second home with interest rates and terms very similar to a primary residence. So if rates on a primary residence were at 5%, they were at 5% for a second home. You had to come up with a little higher down payment, but very favorable terms. So all through COVID, as this boom was happening in Island Park, like we're giving rates in the 2.5-3% on a second home cabin in Island Park, and the cash flow opportunities that were coming with that is huge. Well, I think Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac figured out that a lot of people were really buying these as investment properties. We weren't buying them as second homes. The definition of a second home was a home that you're going to spend at least 14 days a year in. Well, what are you doing the rest of those days? Just leaving it vacant? Well, people were renting them. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are like, let's just not even deal with this anymore. We're going to make the terms very similar to that of an investment property. So the interest rates on investment property, you might as well there's no real advantages of buying it as a second home like there were.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
It affects the cash flow. It affects the whole, and that may be why it stagnated a little bit, because the numbers just don't.
And rates, if I were going to buy an investment property up there right now, comparative to the rates that if it was going to be a primary residence, where are they landing?
Yeah, so you're looking at a 6% rate on a primary residence. Investment property, depending on how much money you can put down, if you're doing the minimum of 20%, you're over 7%.
Wow.
If you're doing 25 or more % down, you can still get into the 6s, probably the mid to upper. So it's a half to a point and a half difference in rate. And that, we've done the calculation. You can see the impact that it has on the payment. So
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's run through these numbers really quick. This is all of Fremont County. So this is not only Island Park. You're going to have Ashton in there, St. Anthony. You're going to have some of those other areas. 8.8 months supply of inventory, almost 9. This is a seller's market for sure.
Absolutely.
164 active. Days on market for the active is 128 with 14 pending. Only a 9% pending ratio in Fremont County right now. And in the last 6 months, 112 have sold. 101 is the average days on market with 19 per month at a 95.6% list to sales price ratio. So the active are at 892,000, pending are at 619. This is a little lower than this, which is actually indicative of where it's headed.
Yeah, wow.
So 785 is the original list price with a 707 as the final closed price. And you'll see when we bump into the grid view here, under 500, it's about a 7-month supply of inventory. So it's bumped over. The National Association of Realtors says 6 months is about a balanced market. So we have bumped into that seller's market. I think I think almost 4 to 5 months anymore is a seller's market.
Yeah.
And I think it might be a feeling because everything was so crazy during COVID. Buyer's market is not a normal buyer's market anymore. No. So anyway, 500 to $1 million, 10-month supply of inventory, and then above $1 million, we got a 10-month supply, which is kind of what we talked about. So, we could bump into these markets within the market, Island Park, but this is a good overview of what that area looks like.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it is a big difference between Island Park and down into St. Anthony. Those are going to be two completely different.
Should we look? Let's look real quick. Let's see. So Island Park proper as a city, I know I've got that city. 8.9 months supply of inventory, so it's higher than the county overall. 98 active with 6 currently pending. Holy cow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then 66 sold in the last 6 months, 11 sold per month. Let's look at the 3-month window. 8.2. It dropped a little bit, which I think that's probably just more inventory kind of dropping off. You got a lot of seasonal listings.
Right.
But the average sold price is $912,000.
Yeah.
So still strong as far as that goes. Depending on
maybe a little tougher over $1 million. Once you get over $1 million.
Yeah. Let's look. $1 million 5-month supply. So there's 10. You're selling 6 in the last 3 months. So, I mean, that's pretty strong. 94.5, 5-month supply of inventory. This is 10. So I would say, and I think this is probably because there's a few that have dropped off, because I know that there's a few more, but 4 that are 175 to 2 million. Average days on market for the active is a 111. 0 have sold. 0 have sold in the last 3 months. So 1 did sell above 2.25 million in the last 3 months.
Okay.
So, and it sold at 102%.
Must have had a competing offer on the table.
I bet it did.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know which one that is. We had to look that up.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, let's bounce into, so that's Fremont County. We got Jefferson and Madison left, and then we'll jump into Swan Valley real quick. Jefferson County, strong market. This is Rigby Ryrie. 3.5 months supply of inventory over the last 6 months. 3.7, so that number's rising a little bit in the last 3. We have 125 active. The average days on market is 96. 25 currently pending and a 20% pending ratio. A little stronger than Bonneville County. 102 sold in the last 3 months. The average days on market, that's very similar. 92 for the sold properties. 34 sold per month at 97.8% of list price. The active properties, the average is 568,000, pending 526. This is actually the strongest value market we've seen so far.
Yeah, we saw it last time too. I was still surprised.
Yeah.
Jefferson County representing.
Yeah, go Rigby Trojans. Yeah. So 448. Let's dive into the markets within the market. So under 500,000, it's a 3.1 month supply of inventory. There's 8 there. That's a little 450 to 500. They have 16 active properties. 6 have sold in the last 3 months. 99.4. That's still pretty strong. Under $1 million, 4.3 month supply of inventory, which, boy, that, look at these numbers here. That's more the volume in these lower numbers.
Wow.
Right? You look at that and you're like, 4.3, that can't be right. If this is 11, this is 23, and this is 13. But that's the cliff we're talking about. Yeah. And then you look at, you have 17 homes available, 5 to 600, 14, 6 to 700 out of 53. Wow. So anyway, you're still selling 22 in the last 3 months and 10 here. So that's really strong.
That's awesome.
Above $1 million, you got a 10-month supply here, 13. And that's 7 to 800. There's an 11-month supply, 23 months, 8 to 9. It's just what we've seen in the other markets. You get into these higher price ranges. So anything to add about Jefferson?
You know, Jefferson County is still eligible for the rural development loan. Madison County is eligible, but Rexburg city limits is no longer eligible. I used to say anything north of Idaho Falls, you could get that rural development loan, which is basically 100% financing, a pretty good option for those that don't have a down payment.
Explain that. Like, tell people what that is. There might not be anybody.
The rural development?
Yeah. What is that?
Yeah. So it's backed by the USDA. So if you think of an FHA loan, the FHA loan is a government-backed program backed by the Federal Housing Administration. Well, the USDA has they call it a guaranteed loan, where they'll guarantee the loan for a lender up to 100% loan to value. So someone doesn't have to have a down payment. You can essentially buy a home in a rural area with $0 out of pocket. And it's been an awesome program my entire career, but the home has to be in an eligible area. Rural is the key term. And then you have to make less than their income limits, which their income limits are actually pretty high. If you're a household of like 1 to 4, it's I think around $119,000 a year. If you're a household of 5 or more, it gets into that I think it's 150 something range. So a lot of our average income borrowers can fit into that range. A little more strict debt to income ratio requirements. Credit score has to be pretty good. But as our area has developed, we're losing eligible areas.
Yeah.
Anywhere Rockwell puts in a development, or Karchner, they just bring in population, and then those little areas become ineligible. And we've hung on to Rexburg for a long time, but it finally dropped off about a year ago. Rigby's probably not too far behind based on what I'm seeing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Rexburg, man, and we'll jump into Madison. It's growing like crazy. So rural development, talk to me about rates. Are they similar to, like, you get any advantages with rates?
A little bit, yeah. They're lower than conventional rates. They are a government loan program, so you're going to see very similar rates to an FHA or a VA loan. I always say typically 1/4 to 0.5% lower than a conventional loan, just depending on, again, your credit score. But if somebody has, let's say, a 700 credit score on a rural development loan, their rate would probably be right now around 5.75, where somebody with a 700 credit score on a conventional loan would be closer to 6.5.
Nice.
So it's in my opinion, it is the number one option for someone that has little to no money down, because it's going to produce the lowest monthly payment in that scenario.
Awesome. So there you go. Call Landon if you're looking in
Let's
those
see
areas.
If you're eligible.
Yeah. So let's jump into, let's go Madison. How long are we, Corey? How long have we been going? I said we could do this in 40 minutes, and that meant an hour.
We've been going for a minute.
Yeah, we have.
It goes fast for us because we're just chatting.
We're just chilling.
These guys that have to listen to us are probably
who
like,
knows?
This has gone forever.
Let's do Madison, and we'll do Swan Valley real quick, and we'll get out of here. So Madison County, 4.9 months supply of inventory, 126 active, 109 is the average days on market for the active properties, 19 currently pending with a 15% pending ratio. In the last 6 months, 154 have sold. The average days on market for the sold is 74, 26 per month at 98% of the list price. Let's look at the last 3, just see how that changes. Oof. Cut it in half.
Dang.
Wow. That's a big deal. So in 6 months, there was 140, 150. Well, that's actually.
Is that the number sold?
Probably what it should
Okay,
do.
that's the number sold. Okay.
So it's stayed fairly consistent is what it's done. So average price for the active properties, $557. The pending, $422. And the original list on the sold, $443. And the sold price, $419.
So I have a personal experience about this market.
Okay, let's.
So I've had a home in Rexburg since I moved there in 2007. Held on to it as a rental. Got beat up by tenants over
which it will.
The last whatever years it's been. Finally, it's just time to sell. I got to just be done with this property, right? And it should be, based on square footage and everything, in that upper 4, maybe even touching $500,000 price range.
Okay.
But in order to get that thing sold, we had to be below 450. And this tells me
why. When did you sell it? Just
it should be closing tomorrow. Tomorrow.
That's why, man.
Yeah.
That's
no,
why.
I mean, and concessions and inspection items, like
everything.
The buyer had all the leverage on me. It's not a fun place to be as a seller.
So, what kind of condition was it in? Was it?
I felt like I had put in, I remodeled the bathroom, new carpet, paint, looks good, redid the roof.
You did it, or a professional did it?
I had a professional do it. I did nothing.
Okay.
But, you had to put the money into it. I felt like it was in a really good spot. And it looked good. It presented well. It's an older home, built in the 70s. Nobody wants those tiny master bathrooms in those houses, right?
No.
So anyway, I knew it was a tough one to sell, but
yeah, but what I mean, that's a cool story. You bought it when?
2007.
And I mean, we all know what the market did around that time period.
Yeah, and I bought it before the crash.
Yeah. So
what I felt like was the height of the market.
How much did you pay for it?
$255.
Okay.
Yeah.
So however many years later, you had, I mean, what do you think your rental income off of that place was?
Oh, it's been actually really, really good. We've cash flowed every year.
Huge.
Just because of the, financing we were able to get refinanced into a rate in the 2s.
Yep.
When that happened, and what I did as a choice is my payment was really low, but I just took the rental income and just threw every last dime at the mortgage.
Yep.
Which then you just had the renter paying that mortgage down a ton. So, yeah, built.
So it was paid off when you just sold it, right?
I wish it was paid off, but it was, we a lot of equity though that we can.
Well, that's what I was going to say. If you paid $255 for it, and now you just sold it for $450.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good deal.
It's a great deal. Yeah, real estate.
Wrote some stuff off.
We've wrote stuff off. I mean, it's going to result in a nice capital gain, but because of 1031, we can look at doing that and buying a property somewhere else that makes sense for us. But yeah, really, really good in the end. Painful along the way sometimes, which is the case when you're a landlord.
Yep.
But I look at these stats in Madison County, and that explains to me why I ended up where I'm at. And
how long was it on the market?
It's been off and on. It was on the market at the end of last year, took it off, relisted. I think we relisted in April after doing some improvements to the property.
So it's been back and forth.
What's the average days on market?
For sold, it's 84.
84.
Actives, 109.
I was over that probably, but had to do some price reductions and
move it around.
All that stuff. So
well, let's look at it. In Madison County, so you were in this bucket here, 450 to 500. There's 8 on the market. Average days for the active is 128. So
it's only 8, but it's still 128 days. Come on, Madison County.
For the sold, it's 92.
Property.
Yeah, it's interesting because that market, I think it ebbs and flows as the college goes.
Yeah.
And you see a lot.
But the college isn't bringing buyers. They're bringing bringing thousands of student renters.
That's right.
So,
well, and there's a lot of development going on north where the new temple's going on. So
yeah, that's going to all be really good.
Okay. Anything other than your rental in Madison County?
No, my heart's in Rexburg. I got great connections up there. Love that market. It's a unique one as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tight knit real estate team group. They have a really nice association that runs up there, but yeah, good
market. Okay.
Yeah.
Lastly, let's go to Irwin, Swan Valley, 14.3 months supply of inventory. That's a seller's market, brother.
Let's go.
So, I mean, a buyer's market,
yeah.
Seller's market. Yeah. So, plenty of inventory, 33 active. Look at that. There aren't any currently
pending in Swan Valley.
Which is a little weird, yeah. 14 have been sold in the last 6 months. Let's go to the last 3 and see what that looks like. 10 sold in the last 3, 3.3 sold per month at 97.2. That's probably where it's going to end the year. So $1 million is the average sold price, what it's listed at when it goes pending, and $958 is what it's closing at.
And the average active list price is over $2
million. $2 million. Let's look at the grid view. So $2 million, that's what Swan Valley is doing right now. Look at how it breaks it down. 0 to 750. We have 11.
We're not going to bother, below this.
No.
That's
but look at
crazy.
this. All these price ranges, 750 to 2 million. We have this many active. There's 4, 5, 9, 10. None sold in the last 3 months. So, yeah. And that's a second home market, kind of rental market. So anyway, anything to wrap this thing up? We've gone probably a little long today, but we've talked about some cool numbers. We talked about interest rates, talked about where the market's headed.
Yeah. I mean, when I come here, I'm seeing this data for the first time. I'm not coming prepared knowing what to look at.
I like it that way. I like to blindside
Well,
you.
I'm just impressed with what AreaPro has done and how powerful information really is in decision making and in business and how you approach your clients. I see value in AreaPro like this for people in my business, even though I don't subscribe to it. But having that knowledge is really powerful, even when you're working with clients, to make yourself look like that much more of a expert and pro.
Yeah, it's like I said, that it becomes my baseline.
Yeah.
You know, when I go in and I meet with a seller, especially, we establish the baseline of where are we starting this interaction.
Yeah.
You know, and then where does it go? And you know, the biggest challenge is I always try to encourage sellers to price in front of the market. Price in front of the market, because if you price behind it, that's always the conversation you have when you walk in and they say, my neighbor down the road sold for this 6 months ago. That's behind the market.
Behind, yeah.
And so if you price in front of it, and the only way to know the direction it's moving is just what we did. We toggled between 6 and 3 months. You can see the direction. You can see where things are heading. And then just keeping them abreast to that information. So anyway, thanks for being on here today,
It's
brother.
an absolute pleasure. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you in general, but just to be able to talk about these things and go into some detail and depths is always a pleasure.
Well, I appreciate you being here. Anchor Studios, Casey, Corey, Tyler, all you guys, thanks for making this possible.
Thank you guys.
We'll be back here in a month. We'll do it again in December.
Let's do it.
Christmas. There's a Christmas tree in here right now, so.
All right, we'll get that. Replace these
holidays.
guys with some pines.
Exactly. All right. Thanks, you guys.
All right,
See you next time. Dude, you're the
Good work,
man.
man.